Welcome back to the Pitch Pod. My name is Joe Janner. With me, my co-host Jeff Stebbins. Jeff, what's happening?
Oh, same old, same old. How are you, Joe?
I'm fine. We got football and more football to talk about.
I love talking about football. Let's get into it.
And we're looking at Sporting Kansas City versus Inter Miami happening this weekend. Can you believe Messi traveling to Kansas City after all this talk? Is he going to be there? Let's start with that, Jeff. I know at one point you said no, maybe, whatever. Is Messi going to be in Kansas City this weekend?
At one point, I think my Messi meter was about here with, injuries and whatnot, being MIA a little bit. But, now that he's been playing, he played against Colorado. He looked healthy. He played in their League's Cup match recently in Mexico, and it wasn't a great result for them, but he was there. He played, traveled with the team. So my Messi meter was here for a while, Joe. Now it's about here. So I think he's going to be there. I think Suarez is going to be there. I think it's going to be the full crew, and I can't wait to see them play at Arrowhead Stadium Saturday night.
Well, you mentioned it. I don't know others outside of the city have heard or knew that or realized that they've changed venues for this to the legendary Arrowhead Stadium in a measure to try to get a lot of people into a larger stadium and to have a pretty incredible atmosphere. I think many are anticipating. I think that's something that we're all looking forward to. With Messi traveling here, and again, like you said, looking at this last competition, played 90 minutes in that loss. I was looking back at that 90 minutes. Now, the whole team, not a single substitution. They played 90 minutes there. Kind of an interesting. I don't know if that was always the plan. That was part of it. How much it was going to influence, but I know I'm going to say that Messi's going to be on a flight to Kansas City. I'm going to have people in and about looking around to see, do they know? They got to have know when his flight's coming in. You got to imagine those people probably at the airport. Not you, Jeff. You're not going to be at the airport waiting to see if you can talk to Messi coming through there. He doesn't have special.
I don't think I'll be able to make it, but what are Messi jerseys going for on eBay? Signed Messi jerseys. Just curious. No, I don't think I'll be there. But I tell you what, I don't blame people for the excitement around the game and knowing that he's coming. But real quick, back to your point, Joe, with the no substitutions. I wasn't planning on getting into it this early, but now that you mentioned it, and some other things I've seen from their coach throughout the season, Tata Martino, he does some unusual things, tactic wise, formation wise, substitute wise. And sometimes you got to kind of look at that, like no substitutions. Say, what's going on here? So it kind of depends what formation he's going to come out in. I think in their most recent one, they came out with 3 in the back. And, sometimes he'll have Busquets play defensive. Sometimes he'll have him play offensive. He's all over the place from my perspective as a manager. So that's going to factor into my decision, Joe.
And do you think it's more so that he looks to see or focuses a lot of the opposition and sets his players up? That is it working with the player personally? You mentioned Busquets at one point in the game having to play center back. And, so is it because the unreliability, if that's the best word for it, or uncertainty that goes along with the players? Is it maybe a question of trust with the players, or is it so much pressure to make sure how do you fit Messi and Suarez in the same, and Alba into the same, and Busquets into the same game, right? Into the same, is it maybe a situation where he feels a lot of pressure to make sure these guys are on the pitch and has to do a lot, maybe more than he would, to make that happen? I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly, but what I do know is he has 4 former Barcelona players, as well as a couple Ecuadorian national team players, and he's got a talented squad. We can say that. Yeah, he's got a talented squad. Yes, they're a little bit older, but I know that he's got those players available. And if you look at their record this season, while Messi's playing or while he's not playing, and you look at his decisions as a manager, I feel like they should be doing better than what they are at this point in the season. I really do. And I'm okay with the coach changing formation and mixing things up, adapting to their competition, of course. But it seems like whenever he does that, things go worse, Joe.
Well, is it a case of overthinking or paralysis by analysis and kind of just throwing the spaghetti open it sticks? In that case, maybe we've all been there and done that. And since again, when you are under the immense pressure to make sure these certain players are playing, I don't know. I'm kind of wondering. I was already getting to the point or wanting to think about and curious how Sporting Kansas City is going to look at this. Are they going to go back to these previous matches and look how these other teams set up and make adjustments on that? I think I already know the answer. No, Sporting Kansas City is going to go out there and do what they do. So that does give, I think, Inter Miami the advantage to go, well, we already are 100% sure what Sporting Kansas City is going to do. So we can set up and to do whatever we need to do to provide them a definite threat and definite challenge. And I think that gives Inter Miami in some sense of an advantage. The fact that you just said it, how flexible and how many different means and ways, that's actually the advantage, right? If over the course of even this early, somewhat relatively early in this campaign, you've experimented and you've done this and you tried this, you've got a lot of data to work with. Whereas a Sporting Kansas City, the same thing week
Yeah.
after week.
So I think you bring up a good point there. I don't necessarily think that all the strange uh, ideas that Martino's been trying out is necessarily giving him a whole bunch of quality data. I don't think he's if you look at this, I don't think it's working. Whatever he's doing, I think he just needs to simplify it. But on the same token, what you were just referring to, Sporting Kansas City, we know what they're going to come out in. And I do think that should be an advantage for the opponent. I think Inter Miami should have an advantage with that information, as we've seen from several Sporting KC games this year, where teams came back 3-0 second half. So, I do think it's important for the manager, the coach to adapt. And we know Sporting KC does the same thing with the 4-3-3. And, we know what their lineup's going to look like. We kind of have an idea of everything, substitutions from Vermees and
The lack thereof. Go ahead, Jeff.
so that should be an advantage to the opponent. And I think what we saw last week out of Portland was, yeah, they kind of knew what Sporting KC was going to do, and they brought in some really good substitutes second half, and it looked like Sporting Kansas City was exhausted, and wouldn't you know it, they came back from a 3-0 deficit in the second half and ended up drawing with Sporting Kansas City at home 3-3. So you have a very good point there, Joe. Whether or not Miami is doing their homework, new coach this year, we'll see. I don't know. But I think other teams are catching on and taking advantage of that, especially second half.
I mean, you said it. I mean, the last two home games that we were there to witness, a 2-0 advantage going to the half to lose 3-2, a 3-0 advantage going to the half to draw 3-3. Man, it doesn't get too much rougher than that. But Miami's still got to show up, right? They still have to do what they need to do, and I'm looking forward to it in that sense. I think that's the conversation we had thus far about the predictability versus the unpredictability is what football is all about in some sense, is what draws people in. The idea that what is this going to be? The counter measures and the different tactical approaches of both these managers and teams, I think, is what is going to be excited about this one in particular. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, yeah, it'd be kind of interesting because I feel like each of these coaches could benefit a little bit from each other's philosophy, right? I think Vermees could be much more flexible and adapt to the game as it unfolds. And I feel like Martino could be a little bit more structured and rigid. So who knows? Maybe they'll take something away from one another after this game and both improve. And at the same time, Sporting Kansas City, they did make the playoffs last season. So even though, yes, they are predictable, they are a talented squad. And when they're on, they're on. So it's going to be fun. And Joe, if you're ready, I think I'm ready for my prediction.
Yes, I think real quick. I mean, I have to. They both have prescribed or subscribed rather to this idea of limited substitutions, apparently, for
Yes.
whatever reason, whatever that's about. I mean, and again, when we're all supposed to be getting so excited about this now over the last couple seasons, this 5 substitutions, and you're doing nothing or you're not utilizing it to your advantage. I mean, I get it. You could look over your shoulder, look at the bench. You've already playing in your head. You look at, oh, wow, if I don't have to get so, but figure it out. It's supposed to be managed. That's why you're the manager. You're managing these situations. That easier said than done. I get it, but that's another exciting aspect of this game, and it's not being seen. And I think it's detrimental to both these sides. I got to kind of wonder again, different competition, right? CONCACAF Champions Cup as opposed to MLS, but that's one thing I'll be interested to see if anything changes in this
Yeah,
next upcoming game.
I'm gonna piggyback on that. I'm gonna piggyback, Joe. Yeah. So what we saw last week, Sporting Kansas City, is they're up 3-0, like I just said, go second half. And if I'm the coach in that situation, Joe, I think you have to change your formation, become more defensive minded. I'm not saying it's exciting football, but maybe milk the clock a little bit occasionally, right? And no, maybe that's not the most exciting game plan in the world, but I'm pretty sure the idea is to win, right? Get those 3 points. Maybe I go 4-4-2. Maybe I go 4-5-1. But I'm not necessarily worried about bringing in a striker, Joe, that second half when we're up 3-0. Okay. I'm worried about bringing in midfielders, guys that have been running their tails off that are exhausted. I don't want them making sloppy mistakes for not getting back. So I'm substituting. I'm formation changing. Yes, it's boring. Sorry. I want the win, right? And I think you see that out of Martino as well, because some of his substitutes that would be great players, and you could even experiment with some of them on the wing. They have Taylor, Campana. They have some younger guys that they can play. They can really play and play off Messi, I think, really well. So I do think those are some strong points, and I don't have an explanation for why they make those decisions. But if I'm coaching, yeah, that's the first thing I'm doing is let's secure this win and then move forward.
Got it. On that note, you were about to say you got your predict or a zombie. I forgot how we do this.
You know what, Joe? Why don't you go first on this one?
Got it. Sporting wins. Just going to get right to it. They have to go into this one. Speaking of learning something, please tell me they've looked at this and figured out how to go about this. And that's tough because it would be so easy for this to be a Messi showdown and a demonstration of his international world class GOAT abilities here in this phase, in this stage. But just maybe, the script has shifted and Sporting figures out a way to win at home. Give it to Arrowhead. Let's and then put the credit to Arrowhead if that's the case. We'll see how it goes. Again, I'll give you a score line. I got it for you, Jeff. I got a score line. Sporting KC wins 2-1.
2-1. Okay. They did. Sporting KC did win away against Inter Miami last year, so they can beat them. And like I said, they made it to the playoffs last year, so they can play. And I see that little Arrowhead magic coming out. So I do have a prediction with a caveat here, if you will, Joe. So if Messi does play, which we expect he does, if Martino doesn't come out and do a weird formation, I think Inter Miami is going to win this game 2-1. Okay. Now, those are based on those two conditions. If Messi's playing and Martino has him in just a regular, give him whether it's a 4-3-3, 4-4-2, something not peculiar formation, then I have Miami win this game because of their star power, Suarez, Messi, and that's where I'm at with that. Now, if those things happen, right? If they come out in a strange situation and Messi only plays 10 minutes or something like that, anything out of the norm here, then I'm going to actually switch my result, and I would have Sporting Kansas City winning 3-1 if that's the case. So I'm not allowed to make two, so I'm gonna.
Say, since when do we? I was gonna say, just since when do we get to have two? Because I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. No, so we don't. So I'll put my faith in Miami coming out and playing what they're capable of with Messi. I think he'll be there. So I'll go Miami winning this 2-1, right?
Okay, okay. Well, we're looking forward to it. We're gonna be there. We're gonna be looking forward to what this game is gonna look like at Arrowhead. I think we're all excited to see that. And then, of course, Messi there. Should be a good game. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's great for Kansas City, great for soccer. So I think everyone's excited. So thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully you get a chance to enjoy the game. And till next time. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you like what we bring you here at the Pitch Pod, please do us a favor, hit that like and that subscribe. Don't forget, we're available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. Thank you everyone and keep pitching out there.
In a game, the round ball, round posts, anything can happen.